Okay, I'm back. Um, Tonight I wanted to talk to you about some information I learned last night that just totally rocked my world. Made me angry, it shocked me, but it also gave me a little bit of closure and relief. The last year I've worked on trying to heal myself, so I've been on a quest to do a lot of detective work and figure out how I got sick, what made me sick. It wasn't a surprise that I got chronic fatigue syndrome because I was sick a lot as a kid. Nothing serious, just your usual bronchitis, pharyngitis, tonsillitis, strep throat. So I knew that, you know, it went back way before I was diagnosed. So I'm going to switch real quick and talk about Lake Tahoe. I know this doesn't sound like it relates, but I promise it does. My train has not derailed. Back in the 1980s, there was basically an epidemic of cases of chronic fatigue syndrome. So they never really figured out what happened. So I'm going to give you my theory. I dug and dug and did a lot of research on what was going on in Lake Tahoe in the 80s. Well, first of all, you have the lake, obviously. And what do you find in the lake? You find fish. And what can you find in fish? Mercury. Also, I still didn't make the connection just yet, but then I did more research to find out what else was going on in the 80s there, and I found out that there were a lot of wildfires, a lot of forest fires. And so, just on a whim, I typed in mercury and fire. Apparently, fires give off mercury. They can give off pretty high amounts. And so, I did more research, and interestingly enough, guess what mimics mercury poisoning? Chronic fatigue syndrome. The symptoms are almost identical. So that's my theory, at least. I'm not a sciencey person, but that's my theory on what might have caused the outbreak. So back to myself, I wondered, I tried to look back and see when and where would I have been exposed to mercury. And for the life of me, I couldn't think of anything until last night. I was looking on Skin Deep, and I don't even know how I happened upon it, but I found out where I may have been exposed to mercury. In vaccines, they used to use a mercury-based preservative. So I think that may be connected to why my immune system was weakened. I think maybe, and I'm not arguing for or against vaccines, I'm just presenting the information as it relates to me. But I think I may have received so many vaccines at once, it just compromised my immune system. In 1999, I don't want to say they totally stopped because I'm not sure, but they understood the risk of the mercury in the vaccines, and they either stopped putting it in there or they lessened the amount. So I actually made notes this time. Back to mercury. They have, for years linked autism to vaccines, but I can never figure out, how that correlated. it made no sense until last night. I read about the mercury being in the vaccines, and strangely enough, autism also mimics mercury poisoning. We're still, even with the dangers out there, we're still bombarded with mercury and heavy metals. Let's see, I've got about 8 different windows open, and you will still find mercury, lead, and other heavy metals in products such as lipstick, facial creams, facial lighteners, and mascara. So, this is something that companies will not tell you. I firmly believe they know they're putting these toxic chemicals into their products, but they do it because it's cheap. So we really need to educate ourselves on what products we purchase. And I think that's it, but I think I finally found the missing piece to my puzzle, trying to figure out what made me sick. So, as I said again, just really educate yourself on what you're putting on your body, what you're ingesting, so you can make good choices. Thanks.